The 10-minute drill.
This is a big one.
Covered by Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is Universal.
On 1010XL.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Hit it.
Boy, speaking of sports concepts and rationalizations coming your way, we call it the 10-minute drill. 641-1010. Keep listening at the end of the segment because we care. We're going to give you a prize back.
Yeah.
And if you win the prize back, maybe you should text in some money to the J Fund Radio. Just saying.
Our man Doc Murphy has texted in. We thank him for his donation this morning.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, the best in the business.
We're in a match situation right now. We've had U.S. Assure phone in and say they will match up to $5,000 that Gen Pop gives this hour. So we need you guys to get off to an early start here. You can go 207-7070 or text TEAM, T-E-A-M, to 243-725. Let's talk a little bit of sports.
Let's do it.
This FSU thing, man, I detailed it in the 6 o'clock hour, and I think part of the reason here in Jacksonville we keep getting mixed messages is because the president of FSU is from Jacksonville, and there are people here that are in the circle of the FSU president that if he were from Kansas City or Binghamton, that wouldn't be in. So I think that's why there's more rumored information getting out when it comes to this story than normal.
I love these. I just, as a sports fan, it's fun. So, like I said, there's one faction who is hell-bent on Bob Stoops is coming, and they don't want to waver on this, and there's no indication at all that Bob Stoops is coming. None. But, listen, we'll see. But what I was telling, and my older son, Drew, is very much into it, obviously. It's his school. And so he says, well, there are reports on the boards that they met with James Franklin this weekend. And I said to him, well, if they met with James Franklin, then they ain't bringing in Bob Stoops because they wouldn't be meeting with James Franklin if they had to deal with Bob Stoops. They were just waiting to announce. So yesterday, they're painting the fields and getting the club and everything ready.
We got company coming.
And then there started to be somebody said or the letter went out and he said it's a national championship caliber coach. So it has to be Stoops. Who else has won a national championship? Well, is Jimbo coming back? No. So,
there are not many. What about Les Miles?
Les Miles.
We haven't heard his name at all. Could he be?
1 year at Kansas, he'd up and go?
Sure you would. You're at Kansas.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's that. But then the other general thought, and this has been reported more in the mainstream media, I guess, is that, okay, so Franklin talked about it, by the way, this weekend, and I love Penn State, and I think it'll all become clear here. Well, and there's always talk that Franklin was looking to get a few extra bucks out of the out of the
and the argument is the same thing with Brian Kelly, who's sometimes the agents pump up these names,
right.
When in reality,
yeah, but there's also always the chance that, you know what, I've been here 7 or 8 years. It's fallen down. It's got a little stale. I've done the most I can do.
Well, we saw Chris Peterson yesterday just flat out resign. This coaching, man, in today's day and age, it's a different game.
Think about this. Dan Mullen just won his 10th game of the season. He was in Jacksonville at Bartram Trail High School yesterday because they're recruiting, which I implore Dan to please make a trip over to Trinity because they have corners going to Clemson, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and, 3 in a row to Ohio State. I don't think they have an Ohio State kid this year, but nonetheless, there's always somebody there. But my point is, so they're already out on the road recruiting. It never ends. It's that kind of grind. You got to love it. With that said, the other side of the FSU thing is Franklin. Well, if Franklin doesn't come, well, who's the fallback? Well, it's the Campbell guy at Iowa State, Matt Campbell, who met maybe with his team last night and maybe told them that he's not leaving. So, and if he's not leaving,
let me ask you this. Let me put it in these terms.
Let me finish. So if he's not leaving, then is it Mike Norvell from Memphis, and he would be the other name that we hear. So those are the 4 names I think that we hear the most, okay? And yet we were going to hear who the coach was going to be
yesterday
on Monday, and it hadn't happened.
But they did paint the field.
So then somebody on the message board said, listen, apparently the person that they want is not coming. He turned down so it is nonstop rumors, gossip, and innuendo. And that's all we're doing right here. I'm not reporting anything at all.
That's the good
I do think
that's the fun part of what we do here as opposed to sitting on a TV desk where you need to be sourced and report.
Anyway,
we're not
what
reporting.
Were you going to ask?
We're talking.
Yes.
I can't remember. It wasn't that big
amongst
deal.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's going to get it. I really don't. And
don't you think
at
this
point
we
got to know today or tomorrow, though?
It's Campbell or Norvell. Would you take Campbell or Norvell or the field? Although I haven't seen a lot of Norvell unless they're slow playing that. And do you want Norvell if you're – listen, here's another thing,
Now, one reason why they could be holding off is that Norvell has a conference championship game this Saturday that's important to him, and I think he wants to win that. So
I'm torn on this. I'm torn
on
what
to go into next week?
Well, I'm torn on what to think about FSU and how quickly they can rebound. I mean, on the one hand, you've got like Florida. Dan Mullen comes in. They go from 4-7. That wasn't a good roster, a good team. He turned around
you know what?
Quickly.
Somebody had a good point to me yesterday because we were talking about that.
We had somebody on the air that kind of
That was also was not that the year where 9 guys got suspended right off the rip, the 4-win season, Scarlett and all those guys.
Yeah.
Ended up.
That's still it was. They lost 42-7 to Georgia. They were
understood. My point is,
maybe
point is
FSU with the right guy. They've had a lot of recruiting classes.
What I'm trying to tell you is, and I'm not now. Again, I get a lot of my information from Drew, who he told me they do have a lot of guys hurt. You know, Kando is their best pass rusher. Marvin Wilson's their best defensive lineman. Woodbay, forget his name, is another really good football player. Their leading tackler got hurt in the first quarter of the
Kanajadine or whatever it is.
So they had a lot of guys go down. If those guys were healthy, maybe it's a different story. I don't know, but I'm just not sure in watching that particular game Saturday how much talent they do in fact have. And I've
got another argument.
They don't have a great quarterback.
Well, I'll also give you another argument against the brand name, okay, and why just because you're Florida State or Miami or Oklahoma or anyone else, you can just assume that you get the right coach in your back, okay? Riddle me this.
Okay.
2 years ago, Scott Frost was the best coach in college football. He'd taken UCF to an undefeated season. He went to a Nebraska program that wasn't going 2-10 every year. It was 6-6, 7-5 type team.
Right.
And with the brand name and the alma mater, he hadn't gotten to a bowl in 2 years. So it's not so simple as plug in great coach into great brand name and success will come quickly.
Correct.
I mean, it is set up perfectly for Scott Frost to be successful at Nebraska.
Right.
And in 2 years, he hasn't been.
And that's why if you're FSU, you act quickly with Willie Taggart because you don't want to lose that. And they have lost it for now. It's 3 years of mediocrity. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do remain optimistic that I think they'll name a coach here in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Well, I would just say this.
It wouldn't shock me if they named it
all of you
today.
FSU boosters out there who have a president calling you and asking you to help pay for the football coach, instead call 207-7070 and give to a worthy cause. It's our Giving Tuesday J-Fund Radiothon today, and this hour, the fine folks at U.S. Assure have called in and challenged you to raise $5,000 before the end of this hour, and it's coming at 7:45 right now already. They're going to match dollar for dollar up to $5,000 if we can get to $5,000 before 8 a.m. So call in right now, and your impact will be doubled.
Boom! And let's do caller number 3 right now.
Yeah.
And you take home a prize back. That includes what, Beef?
Caller number 3 is going to make someone's day by sending them a floral arrangement delivered by our friends at Kuhn Flowers.